front. That's all you do. Just to give you a number. I'm way out of order.
It seems like a lot of calls to me.
I don't know, I'm probably surprised you.
Yeah, it probably would. Katie doesn't look so good tonight.
Sorry.
You heard me, didn't you?
I'm not gonna touch it.
Well, I always want to make sure it's actually working.
You just hate to say that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How's Kevin?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good.
Didn't forget that.
Close enough. Okay, I've got 5:00. Call the meeting to order today, Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019. Roll call, Selectman Howdy Goodwin, Mike Mansalilli, Mackenzie Jewett, Kevin Buck, myself, Jamie Thurlow, and Town Manager Chris Saunders. All right, and, Harbor Master Justin CV. And press and members of the public.
You may also add town engineer Ray Johnston.
Oh, okay, Town Engineer Greg Johnston as well. All right. Adoption of agenda. Anybody like to make any changes to the agenda? Okay, approval of minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 19, 2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of Monday, August 19th, 2019. Any discussion? All those in favor? Approval of warrants. We have warrant 20 for $9,295.61. Warrant 21 for $32,768.42. Warrant 22 for $9,134.79. Warrant 23 for $127,366.33.
I make a motion to approve warrants 20 through 23.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve warrants 20 through 23. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, regular business, wharf reconstruction. The first topic, I guess. Justin, would you like to give us your speech before Greg, or either or?
You want Greg to get you the details first?
Okay,
I guess so. The first part would be that you guys are aware that through Justin's work and your work and probably town managers, you have a SHIP grant that's for half the reconstruction of the Fort Hood Wharf. This repair leads off from the 2016 repair and goes back to the 2003 proc repair, is what this portion encompasses. We I can say that the tide doesn't go all the way out underneath where this repair is. I've been underneath there in my bathing suit with an awl and a hammer. And we inspected every one of the piles for rot and damage to see if we're redecking and rebeaming what we should do. And over 50% of them, either from ice and or rot, are pretty much decrepit. And so the second thing we see, we surveyed the location of the top of the piles, which is different than the bottoms. They don't actually go in a straight line either, which beams for the support want to go in a straight line. So through this project, and because of the grant incorporation, I think it's time to replace the piles in that particular area. There's no better time to do it. More than 50% again were damaged, so that's part of the plan. Replace the piles. 12 by 12 beams, ice and water shield on the beams, between the pile caps and the beams. Same thing with the stringers to the deck, ice and water shield. It will match up to the rigidity and load rating of the rest of the good portion of the dock. I think it completes like a several iteration of repair we've worked on. What would be different in your package than, since we issued the preliminaries a couple weeks ago, we've gotten back pricing on green heart piles. We're only gonna use 4 green heart piles as the fender piles, just because those ones get really beat up. But the internal ones would be southern yellow pine, just like the rest of the dock. We have put the bid package together with specs. We've got a lot of good comments from the town manager who's gone through them. We're adding insurance requirements. Maine MDOT has them right now. They're going through their comments right now. One of the big ones that we talked about, the harbor committee, I had taken up what we're adding back. We'll have performance bonding. It's important to have that. We really need it, but we want it. We didn't want to do it that would exclude anybody, but it's not really going to exclude anybody. It's more of a hassle than it is a cost thing. It's a little bit of insurance. So that's got to be back in there. The town has some insurance requirements. So there's some modifications in the contract docs. Then you have, we also erroneously had double binded 2 of the same descriptions in one spot in that draft. That's coming out. But all that said and done with, I think you'll have a good solid dock from where your last repairs were all the way through, and the 2003 repairs from being under there look really, really good right now. You know, the deck's wearing, but the frame looks pretty good. And so we're getting feedback on the contract docs. I've sent out plans, and I'm getting a upgraded steel and lumber number from a marine supplier so I can get the engineer's estimate in order. I think from what I penciled out now, you could be in good shape with the grant and have sharing. So that's where we're at. When the DOT gives me their last okay on the specs, we'll send it out to, I think what we would hope to be select or public bid, depending on this, but it'll go up to a number of contractors for pricing and construction.
What do you anticipate the lifespan of something like this, I guess?
60 to 75 years.
What's the engineered weight on it? I'm just curious, because I know we've
Well,
gone back and forth on different sections.
I put it,
You can be rough.
it's 15 ton.
15 ton,
Yeah,
okay.
And the reason why I say that is because there's a portion of, this portion of land which is rated less than that. So
Yeah.
it's married to that.
Mhm.
It very well could be, it could be 20 tons if there was work in the earlier
Yeah.
2003 repair. So
Mhm.
we put it to match the earlier repairs. Adopted the lesser rating than,
Yep.
but still 15 ton. And,
Yep. No, that's perfect.
And the last, let's say the last repair was for a specific vehicle. You guys recall, for one we had a lease for, which was a gross vehicle weight of 56,000 pounds. You had an ongoing lease with them, which that repair section ended up being, of course, 22, 23 tons.
Yeah, that's what that would be on the south side of the dock, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah.
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 And we're going, interestingly enough, because the last repair used the same beams and piles. What was determined the weak point were the stringers on there. The remaining beam that's there, all the space is taken up by our intermediate stringers. There's no place to bear any beams on. So adjacent to the last repair, we have another pile cap that has to go on just to fit our new stringers.
Yeah.
We have to go right up against the last one.
Yeah.
The piles that are there will be cut and left in place. We're not gonna pull them out. If you disturb that whole area, you lose your lateral support. And just, they're better left where they are. We talked about if any of that is usable, we may have an inclusion of salvage for that, but the town might be able to use stuff ourselves. But they also don't quite line up to a nominal size dimension of lumber that you can buy. So that's the one.
Sounds good.
Only concern I've got, Greg, is, excuse me, shipworms. They aren't bothering things. I'm in the yellow pine. It seems I heard a couple of years ago they had something in Belfast.
Well, I mean, the worms are there, but it's a 2.5 CCA, which is the highest legal rating of marine grade timber you can get.
Okay.
And so all the substructure is what they call 2.5 CCA, which is copper, chromium, and arsenic pressurized bit.
Oh, the yellow pine, is the yellow pine treated then?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I
It
didn't
is.
realize that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Highly
treated.
treated.
That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
thought.
It's all
That's why I was
treated.
curious.
And the decking has to be less if it's in contact with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not,
Maybe food feed.
okay. Okay.
Usually, the
That's what I
only
was
thing,
wondering.
usually the only thing that goes on the piles are the bottoms.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people put concrete bases or whatever around the bottom eventually, and that seems to work somewhat for a
Well,
while.
that's what I was questioning when you said
Yeah.
just yellow pine. That's
And
why
the
I was,
ones, like I said, the ones that were down there in 2003, I went through, there's a couple of ways to do it. You hit it with hammer and drive the awl,
Mhm.
to see how much can break out.
Mhm.
You can hear the hollow spots, because the
Mhm.
ones will get in and eat behind
Yeah.
the first layer, and the whack of the hammer will go right through. Those ones that were done in 2003 are in pretty good shape
Okay.
now. I mean, I didn't see anything that was a concern or the worms were eating away, so those were the similar.
Okay.
2.5
That's great.
CCA.
I'll just add that the Harbor Committee passed a motion on Thursday night to recommend passage of these plans with the conditions that Greg's already addressed, the bid and performance bond.
Mhm.
And then one of the discussions that you can have tonight is when it does go out to bid, do you want it to go out to a limited set of bidders, or do you want it to be advertised far and wide and get all kinds of folks responding? Greg can speak to the pros and cons of each of those a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that there's probably 6 people regionally, 5, 6 regionally that we just hand deliver to. The option is to go in the paper and, anybody who wants to can come bid on it. We have taken on sidewalks. It's up to you guys. I mean, the first policy in the state, they said it's a locally administered, so it could be a select bid. The Harbor Committee said they give us 5 names. That's what we did in the past. That's just a matter if we want to, go through, add in the paper, $1,000. Us are chasing everybody who just wants to come kick tires, or picking the 5 guys that look to do it, pay for, make sure they get the set of plans.
Not to pick on
Difference
Greg,
between
but
select
yeah,
and put in the newspaper.
all of those bidders, if you want to go that way, I think it's fine. But any site visit is obviously going to
Yep.
costs Greg's time, which costs the town's time.
Now, in a normal bidder list, would you have like Proc Marine
Yeah.
where they're, okay, I just didn't know where
We have
they're,
5,
they're not
6.
local, but they're a big.
Oh, yeah, no,
big-
they've looked, they've done work here before.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I say go with 5 bidders and have one site meeting and
Yeah, I agree.
There's 5 people
Yeah,
that
I'm
worked
fine
around
with-
here
I'm fine
before,
with that.
probably good hands.
they're all people you know, right? So
So are you comfortable deferring to Greg for having him select who the bidders are?
I think I would defer to the Harbor Committee's selection of bidders. I think we're determining whether a public or select bid.
Yeah.
And then who goes to, not.
I'm fine with select bid.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
fine with select bid as well.
As long as you think it's a broad enough, group of people, then I think we're good.
I think it's well spent for your time.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's up to you, Bill, and I can elaborate.
Mhm.
We end up
Yep.
getting calls from construction magazines, and, literally once it goes up, they want to know the numbers. And it's,
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Approve them as presented. I'll make a motion to
Well-
approve,
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the wharf repair plans as presented with Greg's conditions already in, and do a select bid process.
Second,
All right. Okay, there's been a motion moved and seconded to approve the wharf repair plans as presented by Greg, with the conditions, I should say, presented by Greg, and to go with a select bid process. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to ask if Justin had anything to add since
Oh,
he's
yeah.
sitting there.
It's all perfect.
Okay,
Be the last major repair on the dock for a while, so hopefully.
hopefully.
Everything sounds good to you?
Yeah. I like it.
All those in favor? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
All right. Next item up in business is the old red store. Discussion of the historical status of the red store, and I think we have someone here that Marty would like to speak about it.
I'll do it. My colleague, Tony shows. Look, what I'm gonna do, last time I was here, I had video, which is now sitting with the Historical Society in the state. This is somewhat information to the fathers of Tremont about history, Tremont's history, McKinley's history.
Thank you.
And my presentation will be to begin with the reasons for my applying to the Historical Commission for the history or the preservation of this building. There are 4 reasons. And the 4 reasons, it started with Mary Jones, who was working with the library at that time, many years, about 2007 or so. And she approached me when I was on the old red store, and she said, you know, you should pursue this as a historical building. And I said, okay, that sounds great. So, but the next person that's part of this is Harvey Kelly. And when I was over there scraping paint or doing things to get the building back, Harvey would come across and say, you know, back in the day, there used to be a whaling industry down at the end of the harbor. I said, really? And then he would say, by the way, the steamboats used to come up from Boston and park there, and we used to go down to Boston, or goods would come up from Boston. I said, hey, maybe some history in this building. And then the next thing I found out from Jeff Dobbs, who's a kid that works with him by the name of Big Miller, he said, did you know back in 1863 that canning factory over there, they used to can sardines for the Union troops, and they used to give sardines going south to help our Union soldiers. He said, wow, okay, so there's some history. And then the residents of Bernard would make mention about the building. And I'm just gonna, in your packet, you have 2. One is and I'll read it so the rest of the audience can hear. The structure that was built in the early 18th century. Landmark for the community, summer residents, and visitors to the village of Bernard, is open for business. And it was once started as a post office in the late 1800s. Then with the growth of the community, it became a corner variety store. And in the legacy of Paul Hinton, I found all these bills of sale that would say, in the store you had beef, mutton, lamb, poultry, eggs, butter, cheese, and fruit were being sold for Bernard residents or the McKinley at that time. And then the person that ran it was by the name of T.W. Jackson. He had the enterprise, and during that period of time, he put an ice house on to store the meat. And this ice came from Leffenwell Road, which is just down below from the steamboat, from the building. And then his son, Richard, relocated to Southwest Harbor and ended up having a high specialty store. And during that period of time, the Bernard's store post office was taken over by Mabel Jackson Condon and her husband, Herbert. And Herbert Condon ran the post office until it was taken over by Harriet Condon Hinton in 1941, where she was postmistress until 1974. And the other part of the story is there's a second floor to that building. And Harvey would come over and say, You know, up there was a dentist chair up there. And fishermen would go up there and play pool, get a haircut, or have a tooth pulled out. So I said, gotta have some history. So we, so it's same with residents, and like Muriel Davison, who's sitting here, she sent me a little note about the old red store and her family. But one of the stories was by her grandparents and Muriel, but when you said it had George Washington and you forgot to put Trask. And I said, George Washington was here too, you know? So, but it was George Washington Trask and Emily Marie Rich Trask, who would tell us stories about what the store held when they were living in Bernard and Locust Point Road. They were married in the late 1800s, and so would have been there during the first half of the 20th century. It housed the Jackson Market during many of those years. And at one time, there was a pool hall upstairs and a barber shop. And Grammy tells me of sending Grandpa to the market to get a pound of hamburger. He laid it down on the stairs, and up to the second floor, he went and played pool, and a dog ran off with his hamburger. And at that time, it was 25 cents a pound. So, you know, as I talk about the history, you know, again, being blessed with this life tendency, I took it upon myself, Beth and I were very fortunate to have this property. But part of that being a property manager, you have to take care of it. And so we went ahead and renovated that building, and I'll show you some pictures, and renovated the other buildings that the town and the library will inherit on my death. So as I looked at the properties, they've had major upgrades. There's been new furnaces, roofing, exterior painting, landscaping, etc. And on the first top of that sheet that I've given out is a quote from Ruth Moore, Walk Down Main Street. And I found this very interesting. People ought to know about the past. If it's something to be proud of, they ought to take example from it. If it ain't, then they ought to buckle down and see to it that the present time should be better. Let's see. As I said, when I made this, I put a slide presentation and I presented it 2 years ago, and it didn't come out too well. So I blew up a few pictures. Whoa, a few pictures. And Howie, do you mind if I sit this right here? God. I'm gonna let that sit there, thank you. What are you doing? Okay, here we go. Let's start with this picture. That was taken about 19 Cali Road. 1920, and that's Harvey?
Yeah. Harvey
Kelly. So Harvey and three boys are sitting in the background, you got the old red store. And when you see you got the stairs, the cupola, the place where I think they may have had a wood stove in there. So Harvey was there in 1920. I got some notes here that I have to read off because I don't remember a lot of things. Too many papers. All right, here we go. So the first part of this quote, or the second part, I should call it, if it ain't, then they ought to now buckle down and see to it that the present time should be better. Well, I buckled down and to see to it that the present time should be better. This is what I've done with the old red store, making this building better structurally. About 2006, I think, or 2007, I'm not sure the time zone, it was sinking into into the water, and we had guys come in, level it off. And then there were stairs that should be on the other side. So I said, okay, what do we have to do? Well, we roofed the building, we jacked it up, we leveled it off. We also, for people in the audience, that's what it looks like, the old red store, before it was changed. And we put a cupola up there that was built to give it character and to bring it back to what it was. We also put the stairs and the research. And I think Murph would tell me about an ice house, and there was a door that you would enter to put the ice, and that ice, like I mentioned earlier, came from Leffenwell. So we made the door, put the door in, and restored the building to basically what it was back around 1800. And inside the building, the original floor as you enter is still there. I've added new flooring. There's the original ice house door that's in there. And what else do we have? I think I showed you the stairs going up. And today, you've got a structure that is back to what it was when Harvey was a young man. There's minimal operating costs in taking care of this property. The building has no running water, no heat. It's a shell of a building for seasonal usage only. And people ought to know about the past. In regards to the disposition of the transfer of the building property to the town, there are no restrictions. The building has a historical stamp. If the building has a historical stamp, there is no restrictions. Money has been put in privately. It's my money. You can raise it, you can move it, you can sell it. So, and at the same time, all properties that the town will inherit and the library will inherit have been upgraded. And with my death, the properties will be part of the town libraries and their receivership. But I would like to add another community organization that has an interest in the preservation of the old red store, the Tremont Historical Society. And they are supportive, and they sent their letter to the state. And if the select persons approve this request, and it is approved as a historical place, this will have a chance to raise funds, if needed, in the future. As property manager, my responsibility is to continue to maintain the old red store. And I hope to be around for another 10 years, so there's no bill to the town and I'm in hopes that the town officials, as well as the library, will recognize the importance of the old red store as a historical building, allow the application to go forward with the Maine Historical Commission. And I think I'm pretty well done. Any questions? Any suggestions?
Sure. So for those who may not know, I'm the chair of the library trustees, and therefore the library is a beneficiary of, we hope Marty could last a good long time before the library receives this benefit. And I also want to say, Marty has put a huge amount of effort, resources, and time into all 4 properties on behalf of the town. As far as I know, I'm not a lawyer, but as far as I know, these 4 properties are in the name of the town of Tremont. They're owned by the town, and Marty is putting his effort into it. To that point, I think we maybe got the cart before the horse here. And I think town should be the applicant. So, I mean, if Marty puts this in, I think the historical commission in Augusta is gonna say, who's the owner of the property? Who has the right title and interest? And if it's the town of Tremont, they're gonna say, and I got to thinking about this, and I think I own a couple of properties that are rented out. My tenant, Marty is essentially the tenant of these properties. If my tenant came to the town and said, gee, I think this building that I'm living in that was built in 1880 ought to have historic status, I would, as the owner, I would question that. Therefore, I think what ought to happen, and I respect Marty a lot, is the town ought to have a public hearing to discuss the change in status for this piece of real estate that we as taxpayers own. And that's my only comment on it. We support the whole concept, but I think the procedure needs to be adjusted slightly.
Thank you.
I just, as I spoke earlier, I mentioned 4 reasons. One of the 4th reason that I forgot to mention was Paul Hinton, who was the one that bequeathed this gift. And in the will, if you look at the will, it was for the library and for the animal shelter of Southwest Harbor. For some reason, the lawyers that were pulling that together, I don't think, had the town in mind. And I think Paul, and I'll say this, in his day, would be rolling over his grave right now and saying, what's my money doing with the town? So, he's passed on, but there is a legacy. Paul has a legacy here for the library and the town. And I think his priority was the library. It was for children and adults. And the old school building was part of his family as a business, a barber shop, a pool hall, and a antique shop. Both his parents worked in the building. My mother, Harriet, was the postmistress till 71. So there is part of Paul that's I'm trying to preserve in regards to what he's left to the town. But when I think about this and I talk about the history, there is some history in Tremont. And it's right around central, around Bernard and McKinley back in those days. And I hope this historical society could help me out. It was McKinley back in those days. And this building was alive. It was servicing the fishermen. It was servicing the people in the community in many, many ways. And I think it's, the application is in the state. It's been there sitting 2 years. I'm not sure how long it can sit, but I would like to see us go forward and support the application. Because there's a couple of, this is first base. Yet it's the main commission. If they give it a thumbs up, it goes to the federal commission. Then if they give it a thumbs up, then you get the stamp. But as I said earlier, and there is no strings attached. There's no Fed money going into this. It's all private money. It's all my sweat and equity that's going into this historical building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Switch with-
I'm Yara Davis, and I'm president of the Tremont Historical Society. And I'd like to state the position of the Historical Society on this application. There's 2 other board members here who may want to amplify what I said. It has been, at least since the middle of the 1800s and perhaps earlier, it has been a historic part of the village of Bernard and the town of Tremont. Marty described a lot of the ways in which it was used and has evolved from one use to another, but it's always been part of that community. The Tremont Historical Society feels strongly that this application should go forward, that it should be, we should apply, not us, but town should apply to have it on the National Historic Register. We can't make a commitment now for a future board in terms of assuming any responsibility for it, but we strongly support the application. It's a historic part of the town that should be preserved. John, Cal, you want to add?
One of the things when the visitors come to the museum over in Cass Harbor, excuse me, a lot of times they say, what has this building been doing all these years? And then we always say, it's always been a store, and you've heard all this, I'm sure. That one over there has always been a store, different ways of doing that, and then it became gradually a museum. And it's still a store in the sense that we do sell books and T-shirts, but, you know, it still has that character. This building we're talking about here has always been a store. I think, well, post office, I'd call that as a purveyor of services to the whole community. So you could say that's a way of being a store as well. So this is essential to our whole outlook from the beginning of the town until today. And I think we all agree. I don't think there's a lot of trouble in anybody's mind about whether this is legitimate. I do agree, and I thought, in fact, that the meeting tonight might very well be to do exactly what Pete was talking about, which is to take it, not take it away from, but to confirm at the town level, the ownership level, this whole process which Marty's asking about. And I know you couldn't probably do it without a public hearing or whatever else the process would be, but I think that's what we support very strongly. And we'll always be cooperative in any way that we can as historic uses or promotion, advertising, community education takes place.
Thank you. Yes.
I would support both Muriel and John's comments, but also add comments that, I mean, I have memories of it from a small child, being allowed to go walk across the street from my grandparents to get the mail, you know, that kind of thing. But also, I've talked to people who don't live in Bernard, who live in McKinley or live in West Tremont, and they know about it. I mean, do you know the Lord store? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember this. That's nice. It should stay, it should stay, it should be remembered, because people are remembering it. And when you have up there, a society grows greater when old folks plant trees. Well, this isn't planting a tree, it's planting a tag saying, this is important.
Jamie, I just, you know, as if this is gonna move down the road and we're gonna have a town meeting, I just hope that the selectmen, show some approval for it, and that there's a letter that goes to the main commission indicating that it's still in the hopper, depending on where you wanna go on this, because I just don't wanna lose the momentum that has started in regards to this, effort.
No, I think me personally, I think it's a great thing that you're doing, and this is, it's a really good thing. The only thing is the ownership, you know, that I would want to be, how would we, would it be something that we would have to talk to the attorney about probably before we set a meeting?
I think I would be certainly happy to reach out to the attorney. I can hazard a guess as to what his answer is going to be,
Okay.
which is based on the owner of the property is the town of Tremont,
Mhm.
which is and typically in when that term is used, that's the legislative body, which
Okay.
is town meeting.
Yep.
And so typically, I would guess that he's going to say you need a town meeting vote
Okay.
to either to support or oppose this. Now, the letter that's in your packet from September 27th, 2017, I'm referring to that when I'm trying to figure out what the process is that the state historic preservation officer, Kirk Mahoney, outlines. And it really looks like only an opposition would be determinative here, that if you are silent, then they might be able to move forward. But I'm not sure of that. I'm just trying to sort of read between the lines on this letter.
What about having a special town meeting? How much of a,
I think we certainly could. I think, you know, there's time and expense with that.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's a
time wise?
It's more time than expense.
Okay.
And the money is, you know, a few $100s for the registrar and the moderator, et cetera. And then it's a lot of prep work for the clerk.
Yeah, I'm just thinking a way to expedite it a little bit would be public hearing followed by special town meeting would be the correct way to do it, right? Yeah. What do you guys think?
I haven't heard any opposition to it. I think it's a good idea. I don't know if we need a special town meeting. I mean, I think showing some support now would be great, and get the attorney's opinion before we worry about the special town meeting. A public hearing might do it. I mean, it'd be good to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, so maybe
Yeah, as
reach
long
out
as it's-
to
As long as
James.
we make sure we're following the correct
Yeah,
process, that's
Yeah,
all.
because I think it's a
And,
great idea.
yeah,
And
I
thank
think
you,
it's-
Marty, for
Yeah.
all the time and effort you've put into it.
Yeah, just, don't let it slide. This is the second year, I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna be
it's been going
around
on a
in
while.
a few years, and then somebody's gonna have to pick up the bill.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but the thing is, I think it's a no-brainer in the sense that there's history there, this community has to have history, don't lose it. I mean, if that building goes, I think you lose, I think people in Bernard that have been there for years, people have come back, as Callie has said, they like the building, it's a beacon to Bernard, and, I think it's worth pursuing.
I make a motion to support the listing of the Old Red Store on the Historical Register of Historic Places and consult with the town attorney to come up with the proper process.
Second.
Okay, Chris?
Can I?
Yeah,
can I
can you,
add
yeah, I was gonna
something?
say, can you add
So-
before we see?
I was thinking I might reach out to Kirk Mahoney or whoever holds that office now, if that's changed in the last 2 years, and just find out, and I'll pose this as a hypothetical. If the answer is that if the town is silent, they may be able to approve the application, in which case you don't need to call a town meeting to be silent. So if that's the answer, would you still want to proceed in the direction of having a vote of affirmation of supporting this
You mean
this effort?
possibly no
Yeah.
motion at all tonight? You think might be a benefit?
Well, I'm just wondering if, I have no problem with making a motion tonight, but if this could get the historical status without any action on behalf of either town meeting or the select board, are you okay with
Yeah,
that?
let's do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I can reach out first to Kirk Mahoney, or Moni, anyway. He doesn't charge me per hour. And find out if the town raises no opposition, can this move forward?
But should we show our support?
But I think
though,
it's great
tonight?
if the select board wants to show its
Yeah,
support. I don't
just
think
for the
that's
record.
binding in any sense,
Yeah.
as long as you understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you what, let me rescind my motion, then I'll restate it.
Okay.
We can do that.
Yep.
I think you get to rescind your second too, Hattie.
Oh, okay, just rescind your second.
I rescind my second.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I make a motion to show support for the listing of the Old Red Store on the National Register of Historic Places.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to support the listing of the Old Red Store on the National Register of Historic Places. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. All right. Next item is the law enforcement contract that we had talked about at our July 1st, I guess it was, meeting, because it
Yeah.
seemed like it was that long ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Before we jump in,
Okay.
I assume you want to hear from the representatives who are here from the respective agencies?
Yes,
I just want to add some information before you go into that.
okay.
So first of all, after I sent out the memo, Mr. Kane emailed back to clarify that though this is a one-year contract offered from Hancock County Sheriff's Office, the only reason that's the case here is because they're currently going through their union negotiation process.
Mhm.
And once that's settled, which would happen before this contract would go into effect, they would be willing to create a 3-year contract. They just can't build in those costs until the union negotiation stuff is done. Is that an accurate?
With the
Summary.
exception of you're assuming they'll be done before January 1st.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's our hope, but
Yeah. Okay.
you know how labor
Yeah.
contracts does.
And then the second thing is that after I sent out the memo, Justin Van Dongen, the Southwest Harbor town manager, responded with the Southwest Harbor proposal, which is why that's in your packet. But in my memo, it doesn't reference it, but that is in your packet. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Just to summarize it before we open up for discussion about it, I think, is it safe to summarize the dollar amount? Some of what, we have 2 contract proposals in front of us. Hancock County Sheriff, I just did the the quick math myself here, it's roughly 99,840, I think, for the contract for 30 hours of coverage. At $64 an hour for the year. And if we look at Southwest Harbor's proposal, the 3-year costs in the contract, similar contract, would be proposed at $143,497. And then in addition, there'll be a per call response of $50 per call. And there's an estimate of 600 calls, so it could be higher, could be lower. But if you figure on the 25,000 to 30,000 range, I think that would probably be pretty safe. So
I'm just,
yeah.
I'm Justin,
Yeah.
I'm town manager at Southwest Harbor.
Yes.
That was on some preliminary numbers before we got back. State police and based on some older information. But,
Okay.
it does look like it's probably closer to 450 calls.
450, okay.
Yeah. Averages, and after discussions with the police chief, after we talked about this for a little bit, that includes a lot of, calls that wouldn't be kind of in that billable range. Things like 911 hang-ups, obviously, if it's 6 minutes by our officer, it's not something we're going to bill you an hour's worth of time for. So we were just trying to account for that additional time that we spend outside of the normal hours. Our conversation was, we want to present a proposal that's fair, that we don't subsidize Tremont's law enforcement, and Tremont doesn't subsidize our law enforcement. So we don't have a lot of solid information to work off of, obviously, because we've never done it before. So this is the best information we have available to us, and that's kind of what we put for you.
Thank you. And thanks for getting us a proposal.
And that's
so
full
if we-
coverage, that's considered full coverage. Just to clarify that.
There's two separate ones. So there's the 30 hours, 24/7 response to calls. So that would be 30 hours of patrol coverage, very similar to what the sheriff's office offers you now. And then there's the second proposal, which would be if you wanted 24/7 coverage, this is what it would be to basically make Tremont part of our normal operational program.
So if we just, so summary, withdrawing from what I said earlier. So if it's the 143,497, if we estimated 400 calls, then it would be 20,000 roughly. Just say, if that's a rough estimate. So
we're 64,000 more. Is that what you're coming up with, Jamie?
yes, yeah, that would be, I just wanted the two numbers before everybody discussed everything. You guys like to, you from the sheriff's office?
Well, I based my information on the historical contracts we've had with the town. And we've had a variety since I've been at the sheriff's office of contracts with the town, from full-time, one person in your town to, 40 hours to 20 hours, and most recently 30 hours. So I just continued based what our most recent relationship is. Obviously, that's flexible depending on what the town determines it needs are. Not having that information, whether the 30 hours is still sufficient or not. I haven't heard that it's not. I haven't heard any complaints about coverage or anything like that. So that's why that proposal was made.
No, I think the 30 hours seems to work well.
Yeah.
I don't think we've heard many, at least I haven't heard any complaints of needing any more, hours on, that's for sure.
For saving $64,000 a year, that's quite a savings.
I know there's always a debate when, when it, doing the Southwest Harbor. I know we've had public hearings before, and a lot of people support having someone that's a little bit closer to respond and everything. I'm not sure if the costs are.
I have a quick question. How come we also get charged a per call fee?
That's just basically for the hours outside of the 30 hours of patrol. So when we did the analysis for what it would cost us to have an additional officer come here in working for town. But then there's going to be additional times that we're responding to things that are outside of that time frame. So it was a way to try to figure out how to cover the costs, so that Southwest Army taxpayers aren't paying for law enforcement meetings in Tremont.
So the $50 per call is only when there's not someone on duty in town? It's not every call?
Well,
Is that correct?
And it's not even every call when someone's not on duty, so it's just a minor thing. Obviously, we're not gonna call charge for it, but if it requires outside, if it requires police reports and reporting to court and those types of calls, at the end of the year, we sit down with Chris and go through those and figure out what was a billable call and what wasn't. The county is always going to be less expensive. I mean, they're able to subsidize your law enforcement through county taxes. I think that will always be your cheaper option. And I don't want to compete with that. I mean, that's not my interest. It's not my interest to subsidize Tremont in their law enforcement, and vice versa. I don't want Tremont to subsidize our department. So really, what we looked at was kind of what the costs are, and if at the end of 3 years, if you were to kind of use the town of Southwest Harbor, we could take a second look, and the cruiser costs probably would be less if we were going to continue that contract and all those things that we really have to make sure that we build in the first 3-year contract. If that's what you want to go with, we'll never be cheaper. I can guarantee you that.
Well, thank you. I guess the biggest question is, do you guys think that we should have a public hearing about this time around? Because I know before we have, do you think that that's something we should do before we make a decision where it's such a big decision, or not?
I think we should.
I'm fine making a decision tonight.
We've had public hearings and meetings for this for a million years, it feels like.
Mhm.
So I mean, I guess it's worth letting everybody say their spiel, but ultimately it comes down to us and unfortunately money sometimes. So I don't have a problem making a decision tonight.
I would, just as a procedural matter, I feel like I'm the procedure guy tonight. For a contract, a multi-year contract that extends across to the next fiscal year that town meeting hasn't already approved, as long as there's language in the contract that makes it very clear that if town meeting does not appropriate funds, then this contract is null and void, then I think you're okay from a legal perspective. If it is committing town meeting to spending funds that they have not yet appropriated, that's not a legal appropriation of funds. But if there's that language in there that says, if funds are not appropriated, this contract will be, and the current version that you have of the county's contract says that with written, the contract may be terminated with written notice within 30 days. Town meeting happens in early May. The fiscal year ends end of June, so you have more than 30 days for that. I think just to make it even more clear, I won't put something about non-appropriation in there, just because I like to be very clearly spelled out that that's what we're getting at. But that's my only.
Yeah, I think the only thing I was looking at was more for the residents, whether, some residents feel that they would pay the extra $50,000 to have to have someone be that much closer, and the calls to be, quickly answered. And some wouldn't. So that's the only thing. It wasn't I know we've had this before, and we've all done it, and we've all been through it. And it's
So maybe you're right. Maybe we do schedule a public hearing one more time and put it out there. And
no, I'm not excited about it. I'm not saying I am. The only thing is if I remember right, last time we only had a contract from Hancock County. Am I correct?
I don't, I.
Oh,
don't
that was
wanna-
before your
I was
time,
before my
I'm sorry.
time, and
Okay.
I've heard a lot
I
of
think-
versions.
and then-
Yeah, we didn't have any specifics. Southwest
Right,
didn't provide us with
Southwest
specifics. It was.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then
Before my time
the,
too, so-
Yeah.
Jamie,
I'll say I think.
if we had some life or death matter in this town, wouldn't Southwest come immediately anyway?
They usually do.
I think they would have to answer that.
Yeah.
People in the room.
Yeah.
What do you do, bill us for like,
No, we provide mutual aid to the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department, our officers are deputized.
okay, so they let you know, hey, Captain Fever time, get over there.
That's been
right?
breaking my house and they weren't what it is.
I'm sorry, may I?
Yes, no, go ahead.
Sorry, that's a common practice in law enforcement, and it's actually getting more and more common as the demands for services are growing for all of us. Our staffing levels are not growing with it, in fact, most are shrinking, so you'll find that's common. We were in the park last weekend with that multiple fatality. We assist our harbor, Southwest Harbor recently with fatality in town. That's just the nature of the beast. We work together. If it's something serious, we all go.
And how does that get billed? Does Southwest bill or?
No.
Hey, I'm for you then. I just didn't want all of us something happening in town.
She knows who she is, Kevin.
I don't have a clue who that is.
No,
Let's go for a hearing. I might as well
Let's-
take the abuse.
why don't we vote on a hearing first? How about we do that?
And I'll just also add, you can take it from a hearing to a town meeting though, and just take the decision off your plates entirely.
Much rather
Oh,
do that.
no, yeah, no.
I'm just leaving doors open.
When can we schedule a public hearing?
I
Can we
think
get it?
two meetings from now, given the deadlines of the paper and that kind of thing, is.
I just don't want to stretch this out any longer. I
Yeah.
mean, I know which way I feel like I want to go, but I also feel like if we don't invite everybody, then
Well, if we invite them, we might as well, I mean, I think if we're gonna invite them, we might as well send the town vote. It's almost like they're gonna give us our opinion, and if everyone's set one way, we're not really getting anything from it.
It would take longer to schedule a town meeting.
Yeah, that's the only thing
We
I
have
would
to wait
say,
till-
just to, if we heard some feed,
I think we should,
I know which
personally,
way
I
I'm
just think we
leaning,
should send it to the voters.
Yeah.
I just,
No,
you know, it's an important enough decision that I think the voters should be a big part of it.
I know.
I feel
and they
pretty
have
strongly
been
that way. I
In the
mean,
past, and they have been in the past, haven't they, I believe.
Just-
So it's been kind of 51%, 49%, it seems like each time.
I mean, that's what I mean. If it's that close, we ought to.
doesn't our contract run out in like
Well, it's- it's
December?
December
And
31st,
so we
Town
don't have
meetings in
time
May.
to-
We don't have a lot of time
Yeah.
to.
I think we should have a public hearing, my opinion. Well, hearing you get everyone's input, I think that we should have a public hearing and then just make a decision after that. See what our feedback
Then we
is
make a decision.
and see what whether it's one way, seems 50-50 or what, see what the feedback is from everyone and then go from there.
I agree.
That sounds good. to me.
Me too.
If you end up going with another procedural thing, if you end up going with Southwest Harbor, the budget for this FY20 budget doesn't have enough in the protections line to cover that. It would be half a year at that higher rate. So let's call it $30,000. So you could either let the budget run over, and I could talk to the auditor to make sure, just knowing in advance that would happen, if that would be legal. Or if you called a town meeting, you could have the additional sum appropriated from the unallocated fund balance, and that would definitely be okay. So the money is there, you just have to appropriate it, or you have to know that you're committing to the budget going $30,000 over.
Mhm.
Just thinking of all the if-thens.
Yeah. So do we need to make motions
I
to?
think to schedule a public hearing.
Okay.
I make a motion to schedule a public hearing on police protection.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to schedule a public hearing on the law enforcement contract and police protection. Any discussion?
Can we do it as quickly as
It'll be
possible?
on, it'll be on
Can
October.
we get this over with?
Again, just because the paper's
Yeah.
deadlines, I can't have it be for the
Sure.
September 16th meeting.
Yeah,
Is that, did I get that date right? But October 7th is what
Okay.
I'm imagining.
Or we could even do, because I know, it's up to you guys, but I know it can be lengthy sometimes with that. We could even just do a special meeting just for that,
It's up to you.
if you wanted to, just,
I just soon get it done.
and then it would be done with and what would I'm just looking at the calendar from here. What would you need for a deadline, Chris, and what's your time?
Ooh,
You should
let's see, it's the,
ask
Sarah, you don't
Sarah.
happen to know the deadlines. I want to say it's the Friday before before publication. Okay, so if I would get it to them by this Friday,
Mhm.
so it would appear in the paper of the 12th,
Mhm.
and then you generally want 7 days advance, so then that puts it on the 23rd.
Okay,
Because if it would appear in the 12th, but then there's only 3 days warning before the meeting, or the 4 days warning before the meeting of the 16th.
Mhm.
So I would say put it in the 12th and then maybe also the 19th.
okay.
And then have the meeting on the 23rd.
23rd, just for this topic. Oh, okay, go ahead.
I know that week, the week of the 23rd, the sheriff and I are both out of town.
Okay,
So that week, neither of us can be here.
okay.
Any other day works.
Okay,
That
yeah.
week, But
Or you could do the 30th.
We could do the 30th, or we could do I mean, doesn't have to be on Monday, does it? If it's a special one. I mean, it's up to you
That's
guys.
what I was thinking.
How about a Friday, Chris?
I can think of no better way to spend my Friday night.
Why not advertise it on, come out on the 12th and have the meeting on the 19th? There's nothing scheduled that night. Room's free.
Let me confirm that the 19th is.
That's a week's notice.
Yeah, that's a week. No, I just
Sure, we
sort of
really
take
wanna
care of
do
it like
this.
everybody would like to do, and if we devoted just the meeting for that, and I think it would be actually helpful.
You're not gonna have your contract settled by then, so we can do this for 3 years.
What time?
We
what time
decide
you
to.
thinking, Chris? Maybe what time are you thinking?
5 o'clock, same time?
Yep.
You wanna-
Okay, so we're,
You want to put that date into your motion, so.
yeah, so September
And hold, and
19th at 5 PM is what we're thinking about. That's the proposed.
okay, I'll just restate the motion. Make a motion to schedule a public hearing on law enforcement contract on September 19th.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to schedule a public hearing on the law enforcement contract for September 19th at 5 PM here at the town office. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Thank you all for coming in.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll stay to the water and see where it goes.
Thank you.
You all.
Thanks, guys.
All right, next thing is dangerous buildings. The house at 19 Shore Road is still standing, and
Stand.
well, it's
Partially.
It's still partially standing, and we had talked about it last meeting and said if it was still here, by the next meeting, then we would have to, or we thought we should probably sign the consent agreement.
And I am again going to recuse myself because I still own the building across the road.
Has
You don't
he
have to
called
sit
you or?
Yes.
Yes. Well,
John spoke with him this morning.
oh, okay.
He has, I want to say Archer is the firm that he's retained for demolition, and he thinks he says, as of this morning, that he's going to do it this week.
Okay, I'm still all for signing this consent agreement.
Okay.
What?
Let's just sign.
Yeah, yeah.
Get her done.
So is there a motion?
Yeah.
Yes, I will make a motion to sign the consent agreement for the demolition and removal of the building located at 19 Shore Road. Do we need to give you have 2 weeks
I think you do, you should set a deadline. I mean,
to be removed by, well, I don't know what's fair, 2 weeks? 30 days.
Yeah, do 2 weeks.
This 2 week, you think at this point? Well, what are we in for? Today's the 3rd. What about the 30th, the end of the month?
Yeah.
By September
Yeah,
30th.
give them a month.
Yeah, that gives, yeah.
Okay. By September 30th.
great.
Second. All right, it has been moved and seconded to sign consent agreement for the demolition and removal of the building located at 19 Shore Road. And we'd like to have that cleaned up by September 30th. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? All right. Next order of business is water and sewer project. Would you like to take the lead on this one?
Yeah.
'Cause I know you've done a lot of work. with it.
Yeah, so as a result of the economic development plan, you made a motion at your July 15th meeting that I look at what it would take to construct a water and sewer system here in Tremont. What are some of the preliminary steps that would have to happen? And so, and you asked me to reach out to Steve Kenny of the Southwest Harbor Water and Sewer District. Steve and I met several weeks ago. We talked about a number of options. He pointed me in the direction of some of the state agencies that have grant funding for this kind of project. The long and short of it is that the first major step is a feasibility study. You might want to even consider a pre-feasibility study, which, but in any case, so that feasibility study would look at a lot of different options for, placements of wells to provide the source of water, wastewater treatment locations, rights of ways, how that, all the options that are on the table there, and would give you some kind of big picture cost estimate of this of the project and perhaps different levels of the project. So for example, if you wanted to include what I think is what has been talked about as the broadest scope of, let's say, water and sewer in Bernard and all of Harbor Drive, including and the local roads off of Harbor Drive. That's sort of like the biggest. And then you could scale it down to, okay, what if we just did Bass Harbor? What if we just went to the school? What if we just did Flatiron, et cetera, et cetera? The biggest question that's in front of you right now is how serious are you? How much effort do you want me to spend researching this? And do you want to go so far as to apply for grant funding from a state agency? There may be funding out there, but as any state agency is going to be very upset if they fund this, they give you, let's say, $30,000 for a feasibility study, and it comes back to you and says, this project is going to be $17 million. And everyone jumps back and says, oh, that's a really big number. Let's nix it. And then that feasibility study sits on the shelf forever. And they just wasted $30,000 on this. That is what they really don't want to see happen. So the question, I can't give you any more detail, but I can tell you that, having talked with Steve and having talked with a number of people at state agencies, $15 to $20 million is a very rough ballpark of what we're talking. It's all going to be obviously funded through loans. And so that's going to be a huge debt that's going to be hanging over the town for decades. And does this description scare you and make you think that's enough?
Yeah.
Research this enough.
I'm scared.
Scared me.
I'm scared.
Okay.
I say we're dropping that.
Okay. Let's not waste anyone else's time on it.
Yeah, I guess I'm all set. I think that's a good idea. I think we've gone far enough on that one.
Leave it alone.
I think maybe it will come up in the future, but not in the near
After
future.
we're all
Yeah.
gone here.
We'll just say that.
Yeah.
Sarah writes her article and you start getting inundated with phone calls, then it might come up again.
Yeah. Be good to us, Sarah, please. All right, so do we need a motion to, yes or no?
Depends how firm you want to be with stop researching it.
I make a motion, we stop reset.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to stop researching the water and sewer project. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Yes, you do.
Thanks, Justin.
All right, next thing is the harbor ordinance. What is this, the
Agriculture.
limited purpose agriculture? Yeah. Is there any input from you?
This- Yeah, I mean, this has come to you, it's come to the harbor committee, it's gone through DMR, it's gone through our attorney, everyone's given this language the thumbs up.
Yep.
The last step is for you to, well, it's not the last step, but the next step is for you to approve it in order to be placed on the warrant for town meeting. And you can take care of all that tonight and not think about this again until next March when we're finalizing the warrant for town meeting.
Justin, anything?
It's all ready to go.
Okay.
The only question
Beat to death.
you may have answered this before and I've forgotten, but it covers all the waters in town, not just the harbor, correct? Okay. I
Yep,
think it looks good to
a
me.
little bit of controls on,
Okay.
something up and coming you should be expecting.
Do we care, secret ballot or open town meeting? I know Katie's gonna say no secret ballot. So
I'm fine
open.
with open town meeting.
Usually for non-controversial things.
Okay, I'll make a motion to request the town manager place the harbor ordinance amendment to voters as an open town meeting.
There's a previous motion that's preliminary to that motion.
Oh, sorry.
to
Well,
certify
we're not
and
making
sign.
any changes, right?
Well, the to certify and sign.
One more up.
motion.
Oh, look, there's three.
That's all right.
Okay, I'll take that back. I'll make a motion to certify and sign the draft amendment to the harbor ordinance to regulate limited purpose aquaculture dated September 3rd, 2019, in order to be placed on the warrant for the 2020 town meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to certify and sign the draft amendment to the harbor ordinance to regulate limited purpose aquaculture dated September 3rd, 2019, in order it to be placed on the warrant for the 2020 town meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor? And we need another.
I'll make a motion to request the town manager place the harbor ordinance amendment to the voters as a open town meeting vote.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to request the town manager to place the harbor ordinance amendment on for open vote at the town meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, planning board ordinance. They have passed a motion to request us to either suspend or waive the attendance rules and regulations until such time that a more workable solution is found. Basically, am I correct in saying they are having trouble just getting people, and it's hard to keep the attendance up and at the percentage that it needs to be? I know Chris has been checking it very frequently, and what's the percentage?
Well, it depends. Some members are close to 100%, and some members are less than 75%, and that's
Okay.
the threshold.
Yeah, 75 is the threshold. Yep. So do you guys think that we should either enforce it or, leave it and just enforce it, or amend it, or I guess there's a few things we could do here.
My understanding is we can't make any hard changes until the town meeting approves it. But to me, it's starting to look like it would make more sense. I know there's been some of the discussions to have a 5-member board and reduce the terms 3 years rather than 5. And it may make it a lot easier to get a quorum, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's a
And,
really good idea.
Yeah.
What is 7 now?
7 members and 5-year terms.
Okay, so
I think reducing that would help a lot.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I never even thought of that angle on it, that probably 5 is plenty.
Yeah.
And,
That's what we do.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's what I
yeah.
mean. 5 is plenty, and a 3-year term would be, in the meantime,
But that's a change to their ordinance that can't be done until May, right? We can't do anything about that now.
but until then, we just have to keep on everybody about about the attendance.
Well, we can waive any kind of, which we've done.
Medical or-
Yes.
To be perfectly transparent about my process, every 3 months I get a report of the planning board and anyone under 75%. If you haven't waived the absences that they've been absent for, I bring it back to you.
Mhm.
If it's absences that go back, let's say 9 months and you already waived that, but they've been at 100% since that waiver, then I don't bring it back to you. 'Cause I think you've already taken action, but if that's.
No, I think that's great. That's what you need to do. Perfect.
Yeah, I do think it might be a good idea to rewrite the policy or
Mhm. No, I agree.
some of that. And I think maybe you've mentioned in your memo, or I saw it someplace too, to have a provision for excused absences also.
I think that's the biggest thing is they've been
Yeah.
making they've been excusing absences forever, as far as anyone can remember. But when I read the language of the ordinance, it doesn't say anything about excused
Yeah,
absences. So I put that word in there. I think it changes everything.
So
Yeah.
you would want to
Yeah.
amend it to, for excused absences.
To allow the planning board to excuse
And-
it.
Shorter terms
Yeah.
and smaller membership on the board,
3-year term and 5-member board.
5-member board.
Yep.
Yeah. To me, those changes all make sense.
No, they do, and I'm sure that will help a lot with getting people maybe more interested in
Yeah.
committing to it.
And it may be even a 2-year term. I think 3 would be a good place to start.
Mhm.
See if it makes a difference.
Mhm.
Doesn't bring snacks.
Yeah. Well, no, any of these boards, if we can make it easier for people to want to participate, then
Yeah.
that's great. What was your motion, Kevin?
What was my motion? I make a motion to request the town manager to modify the planning board ordinance. I'm not using your, to change the board to a 5-member board with 3-year terms and provide for excused absences.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to request the town manager to modify the ordinance established for the Tremont Planning Board to allow the planning board to have a 3-year term and 5 board members and also excused absences. Sound about right?
I think so. I wasn't listening when I said it.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for that, so, any discussion? All those in favor?
So I'll follow a similar process to what I did with the change, the harbor ordinance we just did. I'll work these changes in, take it to the planning board. They approve it, take it to the town attorney. He approves it, bring it back to you.
All right, winter salt is the next one. Chris, what do we have for our 2 bids?
I know. So you've got 2 options on the table, but there might be more in the future. You've got New England Salt Company offered an unsolicited bid of $54.25. And then I submitted the town's salt numbers, tonnage from previous years to the state to take part of their collected bid and got a low bid back from Hartcrest Chemicals of $52.35. I did the math on just, how much did we use last year? What are we talking about in the difference in costs between these prices? For reference, our contractor last year was Morton Salt at the amount of $51.59 per ton. We're not talking huge differences in overall costs, about $600 or so. It's more a question of quality and delivery time. I've been very pleased with Morton Salt. Typically, they deliver within 3 days, 4 days maybe, and we get a a good product from them. I don't know Harco's Chemicals, and I don't know New England Salt. And change can be challenging sometimes.
So Morton Salt doesn't have a number here?
Morton Salt was not our low bidder for the state's bid.
Okay.
And we only find out who our low bidder was. We don't know what the other bidders were. And I've asked Morton Salt for a bid, and they've told me they're working on it, but they didn't get it to me in time for tonight's meeting. You have a deadline on the Harcross one. You have to decide at tonight's meeting whether to accept or reject it. If you don't take any action, you will not get that bid.
How long have you been waiting for Morton?
I reached out to them about a week and a half ago, I think.
My only
Once I got
question
back,
is,
yeah.
Where's Harcross Chemicals located? Because I know New England Salt's in Bangor as far as delivery, you know, if we need something quickly or whatever. Do you know, Howdy? I didn't know if you knew anything about.
I don't,
No.
Chris asked me the other
Yep.
day.
Yeah.
The thing is, we didn't get much time to be wasted into.
And I think if Morton was interested, then they would have picked the phone back up. and
Westbrook,
called you.
Maine.
That kinda makes me
Westbrook?
nervous.
It's quite a ways away.
It's a ways away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say we go with the local, most local one for now.
I go with New England Salt for now.
Well, we don't have to decide tonight unless we want to go with,
Yeah, unless you want to go with
Harcross.
Harcross. For New England
Oh,
Salt,
yeah.
they didn't give us a deadline.
Oh,
No.
if we don't have to make a deadline, I'd hold off then.
Wait
For
here
Morton.
for Morton.
Just until next meeting.
Yeah,
I wouldn't give them any more time than that.
No, I think we're being generous by giving them
Yeah.
until
Right.
next. If they've already got a week and a half, then if they really are interested, then I would think they would have bidded, submitted their bid by now.
But then if we do that, then Harcross is off the table altogether, right?
Correct.
That's
Yep.
not a thing anymore. Okay.
but we know that New England will supply.
This is the entirety of my communication with New England Salt.
Okay.
Have we dealt with them before? Do you know
I can tell you,
historically?
I can tell you who our past bidders were. Give me a second, I can pull it up.
They're a pretty big company. They sell bag salt too, I believe.
Yeah, they sell, I know. with
Like the
bait-
stuff used on your walkways and stuff.
With bait, they sell and stuff, so I've heard of them before. Yeah, my only thing would just be if we needed something, being somewhat, you know,
Right.
Bangor is.
Yeah, we had New England in FY17.
Oh, we did.
And actually, we had Harcross all the way back in 2004.
Okay, so we got history of both companies.
We had New England in 2012 and 2017.
I wouldn't be afraid to make a decision now.
No,
If they haven't gotten back to you with a, with a proposal by now, then
yeah, in that case,
they're
we've
not
dealt with them.
that interested. And if we've dealt with both of these other companies, then
I say go with New England. But yeah, closest.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, I kind of like to save the money, but it's probably not that much money either. What are we talking about? $1 a ton?
It's
yeah,
about 325 tons, let's say. So you can,
$325. Well, say $400. I'll beat you.
Yeah.
So where did you say they were?
Westbrook, it's way down there.
Yeah, Bangor's too low.
I don't know if I trust having a contract with somebody that far away to get it delivered, especially if the
Quickly.
roads are crappy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion that we award the salt bid for this coming winter to New England Salt Company.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to award the 2019-2020 winter salt contract to New England Salt Company at a rate of $54.25 per ton. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? All right, Pacific Hall. This is just a list of our expenses and annual maintenance and to help our decision with the.
you asked me to look up to research what the annual cost would be of operating Pacific Hall, and this is my best estimate.
Mhm.
And every year, $10,000, give or take, and a one-time first, in the first expense in the first year of $2,000,
Mhm.
mainly for the installation of a security camera.
Could we shut it down during the winter and not?
If you wanted
That
to.
would save quite a bit. I mean, we shut it down like from November through April or something.
I think it's only got water in one small section too. I
Right.
mean, you could
Yeah.
even keep it minimally heated in there and not totally winterize it.
And I think that maintenance number is very conservative. I think that,
Yeah, I mean, it includes a large bill for painting, which,
Yeah.
Presumably you don't need to paint every year.
Yep.
You hope not.
My only question is, what are we going to do with the building? And I mean, I think it's a great offer and I don't think the expenses are outrageous at all, but it's just, as long as we have a use for it, I think it's a great idea.
Mm.
And we may not know until we have it, I guess, but
I think people will, once they get wind of it, they'll come
Yeah.
out. But I do think like if it becomes like a community building, kind of like the gym, then we really need to think about maybe charging to use the
Right.
building. Like if I want to have
Yeah.
a family reunion, maybe you need to pay for it, or, you want to have a
I
whatever.
think I think that's the model we should kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Have,
definitely
like,
want.
showers,
Yeah, you could have
birthday
parties.
parties, instead of having them here in this
Yeah.
area, they could be there.
exactly.
Maybe offset that maintenance cost a little bit.
Boy Scout meetings or whatever they hold in this room right here.
Right.
If we could kind of, maybe
It's
get people to
Right, get
use
rid of
that
that.
instead.
No, it's definitely a more attractive space.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
I mean,
no,
it's
a
very
great
nice
space, and I think it's a great opportunity. And I think the maintenance cost, obviously, if you close it down in the wintertime, it'd be one thing, but also that, like the painting bill and I think, I'm sure it'll run lower most years.
Yeah, most of the time.
Oh, we're going to have,
But if
a lot of it, Public Works will pick up all the minimal stuff anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not, we're not going to be contracting for a lot of that.
And if we can just get enough money into, for now, just until we figure it out, just to break even with it, then, or close to it, that'd be great.
Could I ask a question? Did you get information as to whether there's additional land next to the building where additional parking could be developed? There isn't any?
There is not.
Parking is tricky there.
We had a very well-attended historical society program the other night in which people had been told that they could park next door in front of Carter's store and property there, which is totally empty at this point. I don't know how long it's gonna be that way, but without parking, or a certain amount anyway, you can't park along the roadside in that location, I don't think at all, like they do at the library.
Yeah.
That limits its desirability for any size
Yeah.
of crowd.
Yeah.
It's wonderful otherwise, I agree.
No, that definitely is an issue, you can tell that.
Yep.
It would be up to the people using it whether they could, get permission from someone or not.
Well, there is the grass area, you could park quite a few there, but it's, again, it
They've had
is
some
limited.
pretty big things happen there. that-
Yeah, yeah.
that a lot of parking was
Yeah.
on the
Could
side
look
of the
into it
road.
more too, if it's something we
And I'm
do.
sure George, like he said, would allow
Mhm.
parking.
Especially if it's evenings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave it up to the people who are using it to
Right.
Figure it out.
deal with that, yeah.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't become a problem.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't, people parking in the road.
Right.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to request the town manager to work with the town attorney on the acceptance of the donation of Pacific Hall from Morgan Churchman.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to request the town manager to work with the town attorney on the acceptance of the donation of the Pacific Hall from Morgan Churchman. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, town managers report.
All right. Major activities the last 2 weeks. I've been catching up from my paternity leave. We did open the surplus property sales. I suspect that this information has already filtered through the grapevine, but we did have a high bid for the backhoe of $8,888. And we had a high bid from the same bidder for the trailer of $1,800. So if he completes the purchase, which he has not done yet, the total cost would be over $10,000. So that's great. And I really hope that he comes in and pays. The deadline for doing so is 2 weeks after the bids were opened, which is this Friday. And if he doesn't do so, then I will be moving on to the next bidder on the list. So I'll give him a call tomorrow to remind him and try to get him to come in.
How much lower was the next bid?
It was in the fives.
52 or 53.
Yeah. So, but here's hoping for the 8,000.
Yep.
And then spent a lot of time reviewing the wharf reconstruction plans with Justin and the Harbor Committee. A lot of minor projects going on, reviewing the gym floor work, been continuing my regular phone calls to MDOT regarding the road work. Every time they tell me we're high on the list. We're high on the list. Getting the law enforcement proposals from the Hancock County Sheriff's Office and Southwest Harbor, monitoring the vending machine. It's been doing very well this summer. Getting the salt prices, attended the bridge progress update, and that one for your reference, I think this was in the paper that they were scheduled to start shortly after Labor Day, and that did get pushed back 2 weeks. They don't have an official start date, but I'm sort of saying roughly September 17th is when they're thinking. I attended a school long-range planning meeting with Jamie, and at that meeting, the school staff did want me to pass on that any of you have an open invitation to take a tour of the school just to see what's going on there and hear updates from Jandria. She'd be very happy to walk you through. I attended the Harbor Committee meeting. I interviewed a candidate to fill our third public works position. Had my check-in with Howdy, and I attended Hancock County Planning Commission meeting. Our office staff, Katie, earned her clerk certificate. So if you see her, say congratulations. And then office staff have been very busy receiving tax payments. Public Works projects, the backhoe is getting its annual maintenance at Nortrax. It should be back this week, we're hoping. The Dodge Point stumping was completed. The roadside mowing was completed. Finishing up, Jimmy and Troy finished up Cape Road, and they moved the tractor with Justin and Howdy this morning down to Dodge Point Road, so that we're now working on Dodge Point. Mowing cemeteries, they dragged the dirt roads, and Truck 9 is getting some service done on the turbo up at Whited Ford. Justin has been busy issuing lots and lots of permits. He prepped for the Harbor Committee meeting. We've had quite a few transient float users in the last few weeks, resolving a mooring issue up in Seal Cove, doing some paving with the Public Works crew, reviewing the wharf reconstruction plans, lots of cleaning down at the wharf. He put up some solar lights at Seal Cove to light up the floats and ramps to see if we can improve that area. And then he has been doing some research on the St. George Wharf reconstruction, which they're doing their Forever Wharf. So we're keeping close tabs. They're also working with Greg Johnston. So we're keeping close tabs on their project as sort of a model if we want to go down that road in the next few years, learn from their process. Some activities over the next couple weeks. I'll be attending a workshop tomorrow in Bangor about funding for stream crossings. And so the larger context for this is that we've identified Dix Point Road and Hodgson Road as two roads that we want to see reconstructed in the next few years. Both of those have streams that go under them, and we might be able to get some partial funding on the project because of that. So I'm going to learn more. I'll continue working with Greg Johnston and the state on those wharf plans, and I'll be contacting the surplus property bidders to get those items paid for and removed. And I have one more thing I want to double check. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Where's the street light conversion stand at this point? I've kind of lost track.
Yeah, that one is waiting on the audit to be complete.
Okay.
Because I'm estimating that we'll have about a $200,000 surplus from last year's budget.
Yeah.
So you, at your discretion, can encumber the full cost of that audit, and that's where we left it. That you think we're signaling your intent to encumber the $30,000 cost and not take out any debt to fund that. But I don't want you to encumber any funds until the auditor said yes, they're there.
When's he expected to be done?
They do the audit they're scheduled to be here in early October, and then it takes them a couple months to do it. So December is roughly.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
All right, next meeting date.
Make a motion to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, September 16th, 2019 at 5 PM at the town office.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, September 16th, 5 PM at the town office. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, no.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Sorry.
one more thing
where is
first,
it?
Mike.
I make a motion to find that public discussion of personnel matters could be reasonably expected to cause damage to the employee's reputation and or to violate the employee's privacy rights, and therefore to go into executive session to discuss the employment, appointment, assignment, duties, promotion, demotion, compensation, evaluation, disciplining, resignation, neutering, and or dismissal of an individual or group of public officials, appointees, or employees as permitted by 1 MRSA 405.6.a.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session as read by Kevin. And do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, I think we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Okay, we will go into executive session at 6:35. Phone rings right when I